Oh, okay. What time, like time in the day do I trade it? Well, ideally, I like to trade it like at 6 a.m. to 9 before the ER opens. And typically, once the ER opens, I really, it has to be trending for me to jump in after the U.S. market. Eastern. Oh, well, yeah, so. I'm sorry? Well, I'm not to say it's not, you don't get good trades after 9 o'clock. It's just that because then I have the bonds and I have the ER. So unless it's really trending, I tend to stay away from it. But I will trade it. If it's trending at 11 o'clock, I'll trade it. At 12 o'clock, I'll trade it. But it's a nice market kind of before the U.S. market is open. It seems to flow with a little bit more ease. A lot more continuity in it than when the American traders get into it, and But I also, when I enter, I try to put my entries. I use limits and I put them close to the 34 EMAs because I find that it can be very squirrely, and even if you have that 1 point stop, you could get taken out by just over a tick just because the placement wasn't right, and then all of a sudden, boom, it goes right back. So I try to get close, and I do run the risk of missing the trade sometimes, but I'm okay with that. Yes, 500 volume, 1,000 volume. Yeah, but you know what? If you didn't want to watch it, you don't have to. You just really use that 500 volume. Sometimes I trade at night, like it'll be 10 o'clock and I'll just pop into the chat room, and one of the gals in there, she trades at night, and I'll say, okay, I'll sit down, and she'll say, look at your charts, I'll put it up, and I said, oh, this is neat. At nighttime, though, if I'm trading, you can't trade volume charts at 8 o'clock at night because you won't get any bars. So you want to go to a 133 tick, or if you want to scalp, and you go to do a 33 tick. 33 is also for nighttime only, though, so you only put it at nighttime. During the day, don't do that. But you could look at a 33 tick and catch 6, 7 ticks. Welcome. ZB.
Huh?
ZB.
ZB?
Yep.
So when I hit that,
Gonna enter, highlight it, yeah. Future.
Oh, future.
And you're going to do December 2005. There it is. Welcome. It's a real ZB. No, oh, I know. No, it's the future of the bond. It's a cool mark. I like it. I mean, if you said to me, you may only trade one market for the rest of your life, it would be the bond. Right? I said if they said I could only trade one market and that's it, it would be bonds. For the, and for the tick value and the way that it moves, I mean, sometimes you look at a YM and you say, well, it's $5 a tick, so it's got to be like a great market for beginners. Not so. And I'm an experienced trader, and I don't know if it's just a cosmic thing, but the YM hates me. It could be trending up all day, and the minute I get long, it just collapses. So I just don't, and I've tried so many time frames, and I've really made a good effort to trade it. And I'm losing like hundreds of dollars every time, and I'm like, well, you think, oh, well, 31.50 a tick, I'm a new trader, I can't do that. The value that you're risking per contract is roughly the same. If you have a 1 point stop in the ER, it's a 3 tick stop in the bond. But your payoff in the bond is much greater. So you have to not look at it at the tick value, look at it as what you're risking on the trade. Well, you don't have, no, not really. There's not a lot of retail in bonds. A lot of retail traders don't mess with it. And also, not a lot.
maybe I need to work with it more, but you've obviously worked with it so doggone much that you've been able to.
Well, I mean, the tool isn't yet functional fully functional in FT, and I do timing all the time in FT with the lines. And I still say that
I'm trying to use FT to do that.
I still say anyone who wants to use the histogram should work with the lines first, because that's going to give you the feeling for which ratios off of which swings the most important.
But that's the work you're doing, right? Now you're trying to determine yourself. Isn't that what you just said outside?
Well, I'm trying to determine what combinations of ratios will result in what effect, pause or reversal.
Oh,
okay.
Wow, that's even.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I'm working on, but that's not the same thing. I'm saying that it's important to understand what a certain overlap of a 786 and a 1.272 is going to be stronger than a 236 and a 786, and the histogram's not going to give you that information.
No, of course not.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Is it feeling any cooler?
I don't even hear this.
Oh, that would make a definite no.
It's not bad, but I can tell the trend is
Well,
rising.
I think I'm going to tell him just to turn the fan on.
What do you think? I'm not human with that, so I don't.
But are you hot? Because I don't want you to be hot.
Just getting,
Okay.
but not bad.
Okay. Because we can just keep going back and forth. It doesn't matter.
Sure. Well,
You know?
unless it's a hassle.
No, the hotel knows. I said, when it gets hot, make it cold. When it
Well,
gets
if you
cold, make
notice
it
when
hot.
you walk outside,
You can
there's
really
a
feel
big
it.
difference.
Yeah.
And also when they bring the food in, the air still, it's not
Right.
It's like that.
Like yesterday, it was like onion smell.
That so many onions in that salad.
I took them all out.
I did too.
That
I
was
did
So I was
too.
just like, I gotta talk to people.
Yeah, that's
took them out.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go.
Is that soon?
Work on that.
Lunch?
Yeah. In about 30 to 45
Okay.
minutes ish.
I'm not hungry. I had a muffin. She's starving.
Starting already.
You starving?
Like 7 o'clock. Showed up in a cab.
Greggy told me.
Showed up about 30 minutes ago. In a
Just-
cab. Oh, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, our worst trigger's
I'll
break
tell you
even.
what
So.
we're up. I mean,
When you two write your book, before it goes to press, you need to turn it over to Summer. And if Summer can understand it,
Okay.
then you can say, we got a winner here. If I say, I don't understand, then you know it's not basic to 101 below.
I'd like to do something that's sort of along the lines of the Derek Hobbs book that I recommend. The Derek Hobbs book that I recommended.
The Fibonacci for
Yeah,
the
because
active trader.
his book is so readable. It's a big sort of tabloid-sized paperback, and it just is point, and summary at the end of each chapter. And this is what you learned. If you didn't get this part, go back and reread that section.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it's really very, very clear.
I haven't had any time. I did, as I said, last night I played with the trader for 15 minutes and then got, I clicked, everything is different, but I clicked on the chart to look for chart parameters so I could change the background color because I didn't like black. Well, I got lost. I clicked on it and I didn't see anything. And so I went to the room and Angela was kind enough to answer.
Oh, that's nice.
And she says, ta-da. She said, click here, here, and ta-da. Well, she gave me some wrong information. Maybe I have a different version than she does.
Unlikely. Right.
But I looked there and I just kept looking and I thought, well, maybe it's under this and then under chart. Then I think chart out. I don't remember what it is, but I got it. And I said, you were right, you know, ta-da. And I got at least the color changed. And then there's some other stuff that I was.
Let me show you one of the most important screens in the options. Just come around here for a second. This is where Carlos sticks. Basically, when I bother Carlos about something, he has a catch-all spot that you want to look at under utilities. Angela might have led you here too. Utilities, global settings. This is very important. Okay, now this is very similar to what you get if you open chart options on a particular chart. See, it looks very similar. But the difference is this is global. Yeah. It doesn't change the charts you've already created. Doesn't. But any chart you create from then on. Okay, and the other thing is this tab is where he sticks everything that I bug him about, general. This is how you customize the program to behave the way you want it to. Like for instance, a very important button I had him put in here, show menu on drawing tools buttons. If you leave this checked, which is the default, every time I were to select like retracement, it's going to ask me, do I want to use it, change the parameters, or erase them? And I don't need to do that every time. So I told him, I want that. I want something that makes it so I don't have to tell it, yes, I want to use it. So in utilities, I mean, I'm using that as an example, but there are a lot of things like that in here. And actually, I think in one of the videos I did, I put this screen up and showed how I have these settings. Okay.
This right now, I should tell you.
I think
This
we're
one,
missing a
the
tray.
Valentine.
No, it's okay. Which one?
This one is your 3-point
Right, expansion ones.
expansion.
That's how I get the symmetry.
And yeah, and the one below it, no.
Retracements.
Left. This is retracements. What's that one?
Multi-symmetry is, I think I showed this. Yeah, multi-symmetry is the same as expansion, except it allows you to do multiple swings and check them all at once.
And this one is
The timelines, 2-point timing tool.
2-point. What's the one below it?
Timing expansions, 3-point timing tool.
Okay, 2-point and 3-point. What's all the red ones?
That's cycle. I don't use it. Cycle is like, let's say with cycle you would go from this low to this high, and all it does is count that number of bars and keeps doing a red line every time. I don't believe in that. No.
What's the difference between expansion and retracement? Are they opposites?
No, they're not opposites. I'll show you right now because we have it. Yeah. It's on, but it's very close.
Okay, I was just like, there's no dance, like, but can you... Exactly. So, can you... Okay, good. Good. Oh, when the sandwiches come, do you want ham, turkey, or tuna? I'll grab you one and bring it up here so that you don't miss out. You did say turkey. I said turkey. Okay. You said turkey. You said duty.
Okay, we're up right now. We're up against that 15-minute resistance symmetry, and this is what I call a make or break situation, because if we do bounce off of that, it's going to verify a downtrend, at least for the day. If we break, though, the downtrend's over. I know Denise at this point probably wants it to be over because the shorter term stuff is setting up long. I'm going to try to find some timing here to see what the likelihood is of it breaking versus holding. I'm using the 2-point tool to connect highs and lows. There's a low to a high. And let's take this high to this high. You connect lows to lows, highs to highs, lows. It's in the workbook. Okay, there's a section on timing. It says lows to lows, highs to highs, lows to highs, and highs to lows. Every outstanding point. Okay, every obvious swing pivot. This is the 15-minute. I only do timing on a regular trading hour chart. So I have this set up for RTH. 15-minute divides evenly into the day. Not all session, because I don't want to include the overnight stuff in the timing. And while I'm just going to play with the timing for a bit, and Denise can describe what she's seeing as soon as she's ready. I'm also going to take this recent. Yes.
Which 3 points did you use for your 100?
This resistance, the swing here, the last swing into the high projected from the new low. Okay. Okay, I'm also going to take the most recent swing, the high to the low, and let's see if there's anything else that's really calling. How about, let's see, how about this low to, that might, no, that's going to be too short. See, if I do that, no, that's good. And we'll take, you go back in time as much as you'd like, as long as the swing is big enough that you get timing extensions into the present. In other words, let me just do this one, and then I'll show you one that wouldn't work. Here is one that would not work. If I were to take this low to this low, it's too short. None of this is going to project into the current time frame. All right. So generally, the further back in time you go, the larger the swing is that you have to use. And then when you come into current times, you can use shorter swings. And you delete anything that's already been violated. In other words, we passed that time, and we're looking for an overlap situation. And we have here a 2-3-6 is generally kind of weak, but it is from a major swing. It's overlapping a 3-8-2, and there is a 6-1-8 and a 7. Here, down here, 0.382 is the. In other words, it's this bar to this bar times 0.382 gives you this bar. If it were 100 bars between those points, that would be 38 bars ahead.
And that 13, 15 is 1:15
In the afternoon, New York time, because Eastern Daylight right now. Okay. But we have a couple of major ratios here off the shorter term swings, so that kind of value, even though these are kind of weak, 382 and 236 are not. I use those, as I put in the workbook, for confirming factors. I want to see the major factors line up: a 618, a 786, a 1.272, a 1.618. So we have a couple of those up there. So actually, we are just now heading into some moderately decent high timing. That is reinforcing the idea that this symmetry may hold, and I will also give us a retracement series to see if anything overlaps. It's a little difficult to do this one-handed. I'm going to take the retracement from the high to the low and get rid of what's broken. Oh, I can right-click it instead. Okay. So we can see we have some other levels here. I'm going to take out most of this, though, because I really want the overlap situations the most. Yeah, I don't want us to get confused by this other stuff in the way. If the main area, which we're testing right now, gets broken, this is the most important section. If that breaks, then the uptrend can resume. Now, one other thing I want to point out here, I'm going to get these timing lines out of the way so you can see this. All that stuff I was talking about, time price squares. Very, very unlikely that's going to happen now. This last timing line is the current swing, high to low. Here are the price extensions from the current swing, high to low, extended upwards. That was from the retracement tool. So in other words, in order for this to be a time price square, we would have to hit 690 by 230. See, 1430, right. So the likelihood of this being a square that we'll see a reversal off of is minimal.
And that's past the day.
Um,
Oh, no, it isn't.
no, 230 New York, yeah. So, what I'm saying is we have the most clustering right now in timing that's valid. And that's why I'm paying close attention to this resistance cluster here. And if we look at short term, what we'd want to see is the beginning of divergences. Like here, look at the 250. Let's see what we have in 233. 233 is showing a little bit of a divergence. Here, say this is, it's very weak. But we can also see if this is going to be a 100-line bounce or break the 100 line. If the timing is going to hold, it's going to break the 100 line instead. So now Denise is going to yell at me because she's going to want to look for longs, and I'm going to tell her that we're in timing against resistance.
What about
No, but you just like to yell at me.
gap closing? The gap was there this morning.
I don't pay any attention
You
to
don't pay
gaps,
attention to
not
gaps.
in the least, because to me it's anecdotal. If someone can show me a document that has back-tested gaps and it works with a certain approach, that's something I pay attention to. But I think if the gap is going to work out as support or resistance or close, this work is going to show that too.
You have, what do you have now? Up here, I didn't see, you have,
I'm not saying it doesn't work. It just hasn't worked for me. It's something to pay attention to.
so now on the 15-minute, we're also getting stuck between,
Yeah, well, we have this. See, this is make or break as far as track. This
Okay.
resistance, and we are in some timing.
okay. So just quickly, based on what Mark is showing on the 15-minute and based on the fact that, yes, the 3050 CCI has in fact crossed the negative 100 line, but is not at the 0 line, what I would be leaning towards would be to not look to take longs yet until Mark's resistance was broken.
So that means it would be a great time for lunch to show up, so we can let the market figure itself out. But I think it's on its way.
Well, you also have the option of waiting for your smaller time frames to set up a short.
There's a lot of support. The support is beginning to break on the 3-minute, so it may actually resolve in that direction. But I don't have anything yet on any time frame that would let me put resistance on the shorter time frames. For me, I have to wait until this time price decision on the 15-minute resolves.
So 674 is really your first area of support on the 15-minute chart.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
How many years have you been doing this market?
About a year and a half.
So I'm supposed to get this 4-day session.
No, not. You get the foundation for it and the ideas and start.
I still think you could get it up.
Well, you know what I think too? I think that even if you were to spend an entire week with Mark, that what's going to push you over the edge is actually going home and pulling up charts and physically doing the work, because you can only gain so much concept before you have to.
Yeah. That's
You
why
know.
whenever I have a private student, I first of all, I divide time out. Someone says to me they want to spend 3 hours, and I tell them I'm not doing 3 hours, I'll do an hour and an hour and an hour. And after each session, I want them to do charts and email them to me so I can see what still needs to be covered and so on, because the only way you're going to get it, obviously, is hands-on. And build your confidence that way, because you'll do this work and then you see it works. And it's an amazing feeling to draw these lines and then see it work and go, wow, I did that. You know, and the market's out there. That's going to be big anyway. Yeah, that there is nothing support-wise.
Okay, well, so then I'm still. I lost my data connection.
I'd love to lose the support for 3 minutes. What do you mean? Oh, here?
That little chart.
Well, I have multiple monitors at home with a lot more space, and even here, hooking up to the projector is reducing my screen resolution. So I don't look at stuff like that.
How many monitors do you have?
I have 4 on my desktop machine, and I have this working as well for my order entry. So I spread Fibonacci Trader out over 2 monitors, and then I have a few other things I look at on another monitor that's on the other desk. It's like not stuff I want to only look at once in a great while. Might be a daily chart that I take a snapshot of and left there.
Where do you put your hot counts?
Center right monitor. Three minutes. It's holding. I'm starving too.
My stomach is growling.
Yeah, I'm too.
Me too.
Wow. That's sigh, Garrison.
What?
You sigh, what happened?
Did it?
You like sigh, right?
Yeah, I should turn it off. But what?
Let's take a look. Let me see what the bonds are doing. Probably not. Oh, they're touching that 15-minute support. See? Yeah. Beyond peckish. No. No. He's just back here today. He's got his team. Yeah.
In the hot counter would not be for everybody to see. How do you do that?
Not for everybody to see. We'd have to be in a private session.
Okay. Because the thing is, I'm so new, if somebody looked at my chart,
You could also email it to me. You could also email it to me.
I don't know how to do that.
Just click on the program. What email program do you use?
Public Express.
Fine. Just click on Fibonacci Trader. Hit Alt Print Screen button. That'll copy it to clipboard. Open an email and paste.
Oh, that's easy.
Be right there. Alt Print Screen.
I can't do copy, I have to do all print screen.
Well, there's no control to copy.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I don't have that. I'm in a different state.
So yeah, we're not talking about too much at the moment because there's nothing to talk about, I don't think, unless Denise comes up with some. But I'm waiting again for a specific decline off that price and time on the 15 is going to break the support on the 3-minute. That will be what will tell me that the price and time won on the 15. The alternative would be for the levels on the 15, the resistance, to break. And if they break, then the concept that we're in a downtrend, that idea, will be over. Until one side or the other breaks, the 15-minute resistance or the 3-minute support, I can't trade. Maybe Carla should shut the camera off.
And you never use square 9
You know what? I've spoken to some people who use Square 9, and the ones that hold are lining up with this. You know, I mean, this work isn't just Fibonacci. This is Fibonacci and Gann together. I mean, the time price squares. Yeah, is market geometry of Gann. Yeah. I think Matt will shut the camera off because we don't need it anymore. So we're kind of like loosely here until one side or the other breaks, and they're going to bring in lunch any minute too. I think we're all probably feeling pretty hungry.
Sam? Hotcom, because somebody just emailed who's from Denver who wanted to get together while we were here, and I just wanted to just pass a message instead of. What we were talking about now was divergence in the context of timing highs or timing lows, and also at targets. So basically when we were talking before and we were saying, well, you know, how do you know if it's a good idea to enter at the first target or hold for the second target? So one of the things that we can tell you with probably 90% certainty is that if you start getting to a target and you have a divergence on your 50 CCI, take the target.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, and also too, if you are long in even if it's a swing or whatever, and you run in, Mark says, okay, well we have a 15-minute timing high and we're coming into it now, and you see a divergence, close your position. If you're a counter turn trader, you might want to take a divergence trade and go the other way with it. You know, so there's a lot of things you can do with that information.
There was a time. How many points was that when you were at my house? 10.
To the tick.
Yeah,
It was a
10
10-point trade.
There was a
I
10.
had taken a swing, and I got in, and I had, for whatever reason, it was one contract, and Mark had put down this target, and you know the mark, and I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna make it, but I'm looking at that chart, and I'm like, it's just like the Sahara Desert, and that's the oasis, and I'm just and I set my target, I set it there, and all of a sudden I hear bink, and I look at him, and I just have my mouth open to the tick, and it just went right back, and it was just the wildest thing I ever saw. I was just like, wow. So I've been a believer since then.
Yeah, but the 3,000, the price is still under the 34 EMA, and it's just managed to violate the -100 line. It may turn around itself also at towards the 0 line.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, just because, what I was saying before, and don't misunderstand, just because the CCI has crossed the -100 line doesn't mean the trend's over and we're going to start going long. You could very well get a Z, I mean, look at price now is resisting crossing the 30, you could get a ZLR there and just start another cycle down, so. Huh, and really, it must be cold then.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's like, it's ridiculous. I'm never cold, and I'm cold. Yeah.
The background, lower left corner.
Down, oh, that's just showing as the program is receiving ticks on various things. It's just you
Got
can.
the YM on there too.
Yeah, I have a bunch of YM. Basically, any chart you create, even if it's not open, it's gathering data for it. I have some stocks in there too. Okay.
How do you get rid of charts that you don't have open?
If you don't have them open and you want to delete them,
So that they don't collect data?
oh, just delete the chart. Open your chart menu, find the contract or the stock or whatever, right click and hit delete. But I have a lot of contracts and stocks and stuff in this, and it doesn't slow anything down. And I've never had a problem with that. So the only time I've seen people with slowdown problems is if you have several different tick charts for the ES, because that thing, especially like on a Fed day, and Also, if you're running another charting package at the same time, particularly e-signal, if you're running e-signal charts and you have like a 233 tick e-signal ES chart and the same thing in FT, your computer can slow down on a fed day.
Because it's downloading both charts.
E-signal uses a lot of processing power, the charting, not the data collection. Like right now, I just have the yay. Right now, I have e-signal communications manager open, data manager, not the charts. I could open them because I don't keep that kind of chart running. Anyway, but e-signal uses a lot of processing power. If you go and look at their site and their minimum system requirements, then they have suggested machine, and there's like an asterisk, and under that it says if you're going to run this kind of chart and that kind of chart, then you need to like take our suggested machine and double it, because they, for some reason, the way they wrote the program, they're a total resource hogger. Especially if you're running any kind of like EFS, an EFS file, some custom something on the charts. So I have seen people with slowdown problems where all of a sudden the e-signal, sometimes the e-signal charts don't lag and the Fibonacci trader charts do lag with that combination, but it's really because e-signal's dragging the machine down and it takes over the processing priority.
Have you found any difference between volume bar charts in e-signals charting package versus the Fibonacci way?
I really wouldn't, because if I'm using e-signal as a data source, it should be the same.
I know it should be the same, but I'm just wondering.
No, I haven't seen that.
They should be. If they weren't, then I'd wonder why.
Yeah, have you had that problem?
I just got Fibonacci this week.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't seen that at all. They print the same, as long as there is a difference with e-signal has a current server that gives you tick by tick, and they have a historical server. And what can happen is if you refresh your charts, or let's say whether it's an e-signal chart or a FibTrader chart, FibTrader stores the data locally. So if you open a FibTrader chart later on in the day, it already has the data that's been collected live. As long as your machine's been on and the program's been active, that's going to look a certain way. If you open an e-signal chart, what e-signal does is it goes, oh, well, I wasn't open before, so it contacts the historical server. Sometimes the data in the historical server is slightly different than the live data.
For volume bars, or
I've seen it in tick charts. I haven't checked that in volume, but we had that problem specifically when a lot of people were using Dennis Bowles' template for the 55 tick Russell, and people would say, well, I got a trigger for a long. Someone would say, I have the same chart from e-signal, everything's the same, but I don't have that trigger. And the answer turned out to be that person just opened the chart and they were getting the e-signal, they call it their corrected data. Maybe they time-stamped it slightly differently. So it's a minuscule difference, but it was enough to throw off a 55-tick chart. But at this point, no one trades off a 55-tick chart and expects to be successful.
Fingers are cold, my nose is cold.
This has to be one of the most boring sandwiches that
Yes.
Does the cycle tool do what? I don't know much about. I looked at it a couple of times and said, oh, that's cute. It serves no purpose for me. So I don't know enough about it.
Do you have anything that you want me to take back?
Not at the moment, thanks. I mean, not that I'm going to ask you to after, but.
Am I rolling it down? Did I ask?
You've got a lot of support on the 3 minute.
Well, we're wedged in between support and resistance. And what's the range? 79. What is it?
this is
Oh, good. Thank you.
Now, has that 50, do you call that a cross of the 50?
That cross down below the 100 line.
It has.
Yes, it has. The only thing, like I said, again, we're kind of in that weird position because we are stuck in between the two levels on the 3 minute with a 1.4 range, and just given the fact that we have some pretty good resistance on the 15 minute, I am really still inclined, given the morning that we had, to just wait until the market resolves itself one way or another, because once it breaks, we will get an opportunity to, get in.
right. Made good money this morning. Why gamble at this point?
If we can make one more trade, if we can take one more trade, and make it, even if it's the one that comes typically at the end of the day, I don't mind sitting here and just, waiting. That's the point,
Anything happening on bonds?
No, it's 16:10. It's probably kind of late for bonds.
Yeah.
You don't have any QM up, right?
No, I can open one.
Let me just take a peek at this chart.
You can open one.
There's a hell of a... No, I'm just looking at it. There's no setup there, but there was a hell of a short today.
It's gonna close in half an hour.
Yeah. This is wonderful.
What is it?
Pecan, you don't like pecans?
I don't like mushy. Moving mushy. You know what I mean? I'll give mine to you.
No, don't give it to me. My help?
Called you, but things different, so here's his number. Just give him a call.
Who is that?
DJ.
Oh, you can call me too. I just got message.
Meet with us.
Yeah.
I just told mom that we have a commitment.
You told her.
Yeah. No, I was using CCI, but I was using minute charts. So that might be. I mean, but if you put up a YM and you find a good volume chart, by all means, email it to me and let me, because I mean, I'm not. That might be very well. I mean, you were talking about the ES2. That might be. You could just throw up some volume charts, and that could make all the difference in the world. Throw it up there and see. No, I said he wanted to take us out there, and I said that he had like a dinner commitment.
You messaged me for me to go to breakfast. You messaged me for breakfast.
Well, I said he could meet us here for drinks after, or we could meet somewhere in the middle after drinks.
It's okay. This is where you find out which charts you have. Because it looks like what happens, I tried to set these charts up yesterday and I set it up.
For the ones,
It is.
click the button, okay, more than
Second
once.
screen. Yeah, it's your monitor. Oh yeah, that's his computer. We have to
Open one.
see the glowing eyes on the lid. Blue computer.
Yeah, it's like a Batman suit.
It's Alienware. That's like an alien face.
This is like video.
So they probably won't open it.
No, they open, the shark is here, but there is no movement. The net. Then, what do you want to do?
This is one of the worst sandwiches I've ever eaten. It's so
Slimy.
it's bland.
It looks like what I should do is delete it. Well, I mean,
If you're going to keep a signal, you delete the whole thing, the whole receiver, yes, the whole thing. You're going to delete it.
oh, is that the? Well, no, don't do
See,
it.
this is for the,
But
no,
don't. Because what happens is, they have one machine.
I may want to see the symbols for the art. Okay, fine, just leave there.
But
There's no need to have all this. Just go get it all the same thing.
Hold control there.
It's all the same thing.
What's happening is here, the jump continues. So this is what's
We have 2 yeses. And that's what you see.
outside you. But so this is where I go to
Dizzy.
what's happening with the signals on this collecting data on that chart. This chart.
What? Pumpkin food, you know, pumpkin dish. Food wedges. You really need to hear that.
No. This one's no. These are the groups. The teacher groups ones, they distribute this one. But the town takes care of it. Make sure it's like
What looks like it's going to be charts.
Just fine.
Silly question. Just lose you there.
Look at the 3000 volume. It looks like there's a possibility of a 5014-0 setting up after failing to cross that resistance on Mark's higher time frame. Right now what I'm looking for is a 5034 short on the 233 tick and 500 volume, which probably would end up confirming that higher time frame setup. My only concern is that we are wedged in that 3-minute support, so I'd like to see some of that break as we're setting up. And if you look over to the 15-minute, we don't really have any major support until 674, which is a good 4 points away. So I like that distance. So if it triggers, I will be taking it, and my intention will be to hold on to contract for the 5014 on the 3000 volume. Okay, so I'll be doing 2 and then holding the runner for the long haul.
Which one is it? Setting up on? Just setting up on
Here, look. I'm watching the 50 CCI, looking for it to cross the 0 line there, looking for confirmation on the 500. Noticing here on our 3000 that it's the possibility of getting a 5014-0. So basically, what the conclusion I'm coming to is that, and on your 1000, you're also getting a possible setup. So again, it comes back to all of the time frames that we're looking at are starting to simultaneously, in the face of that resistance that held on Mark's chart, we're starting to look like the downtrend will start resuming. Ideally, the setup would let us take out a lot of this 3-minute resistance, and if we look to the higher time frame, we don't have any support until 74. So we're 4 points away, so we'll be long gone normally by the time we get down there.
That's a nice trade.
Yeah, so we're going to look, and if it sets up, we'll enter and we'll see what happens. Again, though, like I said, you're wedged in between these two prices, so you really want to see this taken out with relative ease on our way down. we have a possible trade setting up.
Possible what?
Trade. Oh, sweet. You know what? I appreciate that, but I doubt it's me.
Oh, good. Oh, so that helps.
So here we go. I'll just explain it to you real quick. I already explained it. Got a higher time frame, 50-14 possible setting up. Smaller time frame, looking at a 233 ticket 500 bond, see cost of 5034 there, which would confirm that setting up.
Great.
And it would also break through that support you have on the 3-minute.
Yeah.
And we have no support at all on the 15-minute until 74, which is the great distance that I can remember at now. So I'm looking for short time.
Great.
Do you see that somewhere?
I heard you, but
Here, you look at the chart, I want you to, you pick it out, all right? Here's the pointer. No, come on, it's okay. This is the only way you're going to get this.
Don't take my eye out.
Okay, so first we're going to look at the 233 tick.
okay.
What's going on there? Highlight it. What's going on there?
Right there, well, on the longer time frame, right there, on the 50 CCI, I see that it's a zero-line reject, but it's still within the 100s. And on this one, it's still within the 100s. It hasn't crossed the zero. However, price has gone, and the last one has closed above. This bar is not closed, but this bar is closed above the 34 EMA. So the next, which would be over here,
Well,
on the
500 volume.
on the 500, it's hugging, it's kissing the
Well,
100 line.
let's concentrate more on the 50 CCI and what that's doing.
Okay, that one has crossed the 100 line. It hasn't crossed the 0 line. It's just crossed the 100 line.
Well, what's our overall trend? Here's our higher time frame chart right here.
Yeah, the overall trend is up.
Up? Why is it up?
Well, I'm looking at the over here. This is going up. That's coming down.
What is that
Price is going up, and it's below the 30, but it's headed towards the 34. But nevertheless, it's still below the 34.
What's the pattern that you see possibly setting up on this time frame?
34. There's no 100 line, so 34.
Look at the 14. 50 CCI is under 0. 14's coming from positive.
Okay.
We're looking for it to cross the 0 and give us a higher time frame, 50, 14 short. Because even though we've had this nice pullback, if we have to distinguish what the trend is, we have to say price is under the 0 line. I mean, CCI is under the 0 line. Resistance, as I've been saying.
Right.
And now price is failing to cross the 34 EMA.
Right.
So the trend, although we're going sideways, is still for trade purposes down. So because we have that pattern setting up, we look at our smaller time frames. What we're anticipating because of this and because of that resistance is the 233 and the 500 volume to set up a 50-34 short. It might not happen, but we're certainly, with that 15-minute support, resistance, we're certainly not going long.
15.
We would have to take out, right here, if you look, see this?
Okay.
We would have to take that out to start going long.
Right.
But because the 50 is now starting to go flat, and this is what I want to show you, don't worry so much that, oh, it's over or under. You want to look at kind of what it's doing as it's approaching, which is just going flat. And flat with a rejection at the 34 EMA is not bullish.
Right. Now I see it.
Okay, so that's what I want you to kind of do when you're looking at your charts. Just go through and say, what do I see? What do I see? What do I see? You know, and it doesn't have to be, like I said, something that's set up and already. It's something that it's a possibility based on that higher time frame, based on the fact that we can't seem to break resistance.
Right. Which is, and that's a 0.38, which is pretty strong, didn't you say?
Well, in this case it is because it's like the entire day's move.
See?
Yes.
Okay, if it were a smaller swing, it's my less important ones are color-coded blue. Okay. So the fact that it's off a major swing is what makes it stronger.
Also, too, one thing you want to see here. Even though we retraced off of the 0 line here, CCI right now is having the inability to cross the 100 line. So even on our smaller time frames, that is worth something. Because if you were in a long trade right now, and as I've been telling you for the past few days, when you're in a trade, you want to see the CCI go through the 100 if you're long. If you were long right now, you'd be saying,
Right.
do I like that? Am I not, you know? And that's what you want to watch. And so even though the pattern hasn't set up yet, you want to make sure that you're anticipating it.
Every time what?
Every time it's happening on the 50.
Right.
But it's not to say that it won't, but if it does, it would probably break that resistance, and then we can start looking for longs.
See, the point is it's selling us a decision. So if you don't like that, why try one side or the other until we can say, great, everything's aligned.
Yeah.
And by the way, if anyone is running this kind of fib work, if you would like me to take a look at what you're doing, just feel free to poke me, especially while things are slow. I'll come over and I'll be nice, I promise. Yes.
But poke gently.
Yuri said
Yes,
something
gently.
about plop down here, he just plop us a temperature.
Yeah, I don't want to punch you.
I haven't seen her hit you once.
Oh, I thought this was your second.
ZB.
I'm already short.
At what, 10?
Well, you got some support here on the longer time frame. I'd say it's broken. Not that much, so this is broken.
So now what bonds you're only using, you're not even using CCR.
No, that's my 15-minute for which we don't use CCI on anyway. That's just a good chart for me to run timing and price work. The other charts have CCI.
Summer, are you going to the trade along?